To our amazing viewers at Infidelity Tales Lab, welcome and thank you. Your presence makes these stories worth sharing. We'd love to hear, which part of the world are you joining us from? Let us know. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. The Perfect Life. Maxwell Barrett stared at the Manhattan skyline from his penthouse office, the glittering lights reflecting off his steely gray eyes. At 42, he'd built an empire from nothing. Barrett Global Investments was now handling portfolios worth billions. Not bad for a kid who grew up in a trailer park in Nevada. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Barrett, your wife called. She wanted to remind you about the charity gala tonight." "Thanks, Diane." Maxwell loosened his tie slightly. 12 years of marriage to Olivia had given him everything he thought he wanted: status, connections, and the perfect partner to come home to. Their wedding had been featured in society magazines, the self-made mogul and the gorgeous daughter of the prestigious Montgomery family. His phone buzzed. A message from Perry Donovan, his childhood friend and head of security for Barrett Global. "Need to talk. Important. My office in 15. Maxwell frowned. Perry never messaged like this unless something was seriously wrong. 15 minutes later, Maxwell sat across from Perry in the security office, watching his friend fidget uncomfortably. "Just spit it out," Maxwell said. Perry slid a tablet across the desk. "I wouldn't show you this if I wasn't absolutely certain." Maxwell picked up the device. Security footage from the previous day showed Olivia entering the Waldorf Astoria, checking her appearance nervously before walking through the lobby. The timestamp read 2:17 p.m. The next clip showed her leaving at 5:43 p.m., her normally perfect hair slightly disheveled. "So my wife went to a hotel. That doesn't mean—" "Keep watching," Perry said quietly. The next clip showed a man exiting the same hotel 8 minutes after Olivia. Maxwell's blood turned to ice. Trenton Holbrook, his supposed friend and business associate. "How long?" Maxwell asked, his voice dangerously calm. "At least 6 months. Maybe longer." "You're sure?" Perry nodded gravely. "Hotel records, text messages, calls. They've been careful, but not careful enough." Maxwell stared at the frozen image of Trenton's smug face. "I want everything. Every meeting, every text, every call." "Already compiling it," Perry said. "What are you going to do?" Maxwell stood, straightening his custom suit jacket. "I'm going to charity gala with my wife. And then I'm going to destroy them both." That night, Maxwell watched Olivia as she worked the room at the gala. Her emerald dress highlighted her perfect figure, her blonde hair cascading over bare shoulders. She was radiant, laughing with New York's elite, her hand occasionally brushing his arm in practiced affection. Every touch now felt like betrayal. "You're quiet tonight," Olivia whispered, leaning close. Her familiar perfume, the one he'd bought her in Paris, made his stomach turn. "Just tired," he replied, forcing a smile. "Big deal coming up." "The Dubai project?" she asked, her interest seemingly genuine. "Among others." As they drove home in their Bentley, Maxwell studied his wife's profile in the dim light. The woman he'd given everything to. The woman who'd vowed to love him forever. The woman who was sleeping with one of his closest associates. "I love you," she said as they prepared for bed, kissing him lightly. "I love you too," he lied, his mind already calculating, planning, preparing for war. Chapter 2. The Investigation. For 3 weeks, Maxwell maintained the perfect facade. He kissed Olivia goodbye each morning, attended business meetings, made dinner reservations at her favorite restaurants, all while compiling evidence of her betrayal. Perry had installed surveillance in both their Manhattan penthouse and Hampton's estate. Maxwell's private investigator, Francine Lopez, tracked the lovers' movements, photographing their accidental encounters at coffee shops and their not-so-coincidental meetings at the Waldorf. Maxwell sat in his private study, examining the latest report. Photos of Olivia and Trenton at a secluded restaurant in upstate New York. Their hands intertwined across the table, looking at each other with undisguised desire. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called, quickly closing the file. Olivia entered, dressed for tennis. "I'm heading to the club. Lunch with the girls after." "Have fun," he said, smiling warmly. "Tell Bethany I said hello." Will do. She hesitated. Is everything okay? You've been working so much lately. The Dubai deal is consuming all my attention, he replied smoothly. But it'll be worth it. After she left, Maxwell called Perry. I need everything on Trina Holbrook. Financials, habits, weaknesses. Every skeleton in his closet. Already digging, Perry confirmed. Found something interesting. He's not as financially solid as he pretends. 3 failed investments in the last year. He's leveraged to the hilt. Interesting, Maxwell murmured. And what about Olivia's family? The Montgomerys are having their own troubles. Her father's hedge fund took some hits. They're keeping up appearances, but they're cash poor. That's why they pushed Olivia toward you in the first place. Maxwell laughed humorlessly. So, I was just a rich nobody they needed to bail them out. Basically, who else knows about the affair? Her cousin Dominic knows for sure. He's covered for them twice. And I suspect her parents are aware, but turning a blind eye. Maxwell's jaw tightened. The Montgomerys had always treated him with barely concealed disdain. Old money looking down on the nouveau riche. Never fully accepting him despite his success. There's something else, Perry added. Olivia's been asking questions about your finances. Specifically about the Dubai project. Some of those questions have been relayed to Trenton. Maxwell's eyes narrowed. So it's not just sex. They're after my company. Looks that way. Trenton's been meeting with your competitors. Maxwell stared out the window at the city below. I want a complete audit of everyone who's accessed sensitive information. And give me a meeting with Natalia Rivera. Natalia was his most ruthless attorney. Brilliant, discreet, and utterly without mercy in the courtroom. If anyone could help him craft the perfect revenge, it was her. That evening, Maxwell sat across from Natalia in a private room at an unmarked restaurant in Chinatown. So, Natalia said after hearing the whole story, you want to destroy them both. Completely, Maxwell confirmed. But I need to be strategic. A simple divorce would give Olivia half my fortune, which she would share with lover boy. Natalia nodded. There are ways around that. Your prenup has an infidelity clause. The prenup requires proof that would stand up in court. I need more than hotel footage and photos. Natalia smiled coldly. Then we'll get more. But first, we need to understand what they're really after. If they're trying to steal company secrets, that's corporate espionage. Criminal charges. Much more satisfying than just a divorce. Maxwell leaned forward. Tell me what you need. Time, access, and your willingness to let them think they're winning for a little while longer. You'll have it all, Maxwell promised. Whatever it takes. Chapter 3. The plan takes shape. Maxwell stood in his home office, staring at the web of connections he'd mapped on his secure tablet. Every meeting between Olivia and Trenton. Every suspicious call. Every leaked piece of information. The Dubai project was his biggest venture yet. A $2.3 billion development that would transform Barrett Global from a major player to an industry titan. Only 5 people knew the complete details. And, somehow, pieces of those details had reached his competitors. His secure phone buzzed. Perry calling. We found it, Perry said without preamble. Hidden camera in your home office. Professional job. Been there about 3 months. Maxwell's blood boiled. My own home. There's more. Olivia's been copying files from your laptop. The backup program captured her accessing the Dubai contracts last week. And Trenton, meeting tomorrow with Archer Capital, your biggest competitor for the Dubai deal. Maxwell closed his eyes, focusing on his breathing. When he opened them, his decision was made. It's time to accelerate the plan. The next day, Maxwell invited Trenton to his club for what appeared to be a friendly game of squash. As they played, Maxwell intentionally held back, letting Trenton win the first 2 games. You're off your game today, Max, Trenton said, grinning as they took a water break. Long nights working on Dubai, Maxwell replied. Speaking of which, I could use your expertise on something. The investment structure is complex, even for me. Trenton's eyes sparked with interest. Happy to help. What are you thinking? I'm creating a separate holding company for the project. Offshore. Keeps things cleaner tax-wise. Smart. Trenton nodded, trying to mask his eagerness. When are you filing the paperwork? Next week. I'll send you the preliminary docs. Would appreciate your review before they go to legal. Of course, anything for you. Anything except loyalty, Maxwell thought, watching Trenton's barely concealed excitement. That night, Maxwell deliberately left his laptop open in his home office before telling Olivia he was going to the gym. Instead, he went to the building's security room, watching through the hidden cameras as Olivia slipped into his office 20 minutes later. She went straight to his computer, scrolling through documents about the fictitious offshore company, complete with account numbers, access codes, and details of undisclosed investors. All fake, all traceable when accessed. As she photographed the screen with her phone, Maxwell smiled coldly. The bait had been taken. The next phase began at the Montgomery family estate in Connecticut, where Olivia's cousin Alexandra was celebrating her engagement to a British financier. Maxwell made sure to tell Olivia he couldn't attend due to an emergency meeting in Dubai. "I'm so sorry, darling," he said, kissing her cheek as he packed a small suitcase. "I'll make it up to you." "It's fine," she said, her disappointment seemingly genuine. "The Dubai deal is important. Alexandra will understand. Give her my congratulations, and apologize to your parents for me." Maxwell had Olivia's car service take her to Connecticut while he boarded his private jet. But instead of flying to Dubai, the plane circled back, landing at a private airfield where a helicopter waited. Meanwhile, at the Montgomery estate, the engagement celebration was in full swing. Alexandra's parents had spared no expense. Champagne flowed freely, a string quartet played, and New England's elite mingled on manicured lawns. Olivia sat with her parents and Trenton, who had been invited as an old family friend. They thought they were being discreet, but several guests had noticed their lingering glances and secretive smiles. "Where's that husband of yours?" Preston Montgomery asked his daughter, his disdain barely concealed. "Dubai," Olivia replied. "Important business." "Always business," her mother Vivian sniffed. "I've never understood why you married someone so consumed by work. Let's talk about his billions instead," Preston said with a derisive chuckle. "The man does have his uses. He's just dedicated," Olivia defended half-heartedly. Trenton placed his hand briefly on Olivia's under the table. "Some men don't know how to appreciate what they have at home." Preston raised his champagne glass. "To Alexandra and Thomas. May your marriage be filled with true love, not just convenient arrangements." The subtle dig at Olivia and Maxwell's marriage drew knowing smirks from those closest to the family. As the evening progressed, the whispers about Olivia's imaginary husband grew more brazen. Preston, increasingly intoxicated, began openly mocking Maxwell. "Another no-show from the great Maxwell Barrett," he announced to their table. "Always chasing the next billion while neglecting his responsibilities here." "Daddy, stop," Olivia said weakly. "What?" "It's true. I'm beginning to think this Dubai trip is fictional. Or perhaps the mysterious Maxwell Barrett himself is the fiction, a wallet with a man occasionally attached." Awkward laughter rippled through the group. Vivian joined in. "Darling, you have to admit, your husband has become more legend than reality lately. When was the last time anyone actually saw him at a family event?" Olivia's cheeks flushed with embarrassment and anger. Trenton squeezed her hand sympathetically under the table. Just then, the distinctive whump-whump of helicopter blades cut through the evening air. Conversations halted as guests looked skyward. A sleek black helicopter approached, hovering momentarily before landing on the expansive lawn. Olivia froze, champagne glass halfway to her lips. The helicopter door opened, and Maxwell Barrett stepped out, impeccably dressed in a custom suit. He straightened his tie and walked confidently toward the gathered guests, who had fallen into stunned silence. He approached the main table, kissing a shocked Alexandra on both cheeks. "Congratulations on your engagement. Sorry I'm late. Had to park the helicopter." His eyes found Olivia, who had gone pale. "Hello, darling. Surprised to see me?" Behind her, Trenton nearly choked on his champagne. Maxwell turned to his in-laws with a cold smile. "Preston, Vivian, always a pleasure. I trust you've been enjoying the evening? You seemed quite amused about something when I arrived." Preston sputtered. "Maxwell, we didn't expect." "Clearly," Maxwell replied, his tone pleasant but his eyes glacial. "My pilot did exceptional work getting us back from Dubai so quickly. I wouldn't miss my cousin-in-law's engagement for the world. He turned to the assembled guests, a toast to the happy couple, and perhaps another to the importance of appearances. As champagne glasses clinked nervously around them, Maxwell placed his hand possessively on Olivia's shoulder. "Darling, there's someone I'd like you to meet. My new business partner from Dubai." He gestured toward the helicopter, from which emerged a stunningly beautiful woman in a designer dress. "Everyone, this is Layla Nazari. She'll be instrumental in the Dubai project moving forward." He looked directly at Trenton. "All other partnerships are being reevaluated." The message was clear to those who needed to hear it. The hunter had become the prey. Chapter 4: Opening Moves. The morning after the engagement party, Maxwell sat across from Olivia at their dining table, calmly sipping coffee while reading financial news on his tablet. The silence between them was thick with unspoken accusations. "You never mentioned bringing a helicopter to the party," Olivia finally said, her voice carefully neutral. Maxwell looked up, his expression pleasant. "I wanted to surprise you. And Layla Nazari? You've never mentioned her before." "Haven't I? She's been crucial to the Dubai negotiations. Beautiful and brilliant, a rare combination." Olivia's knuckles whitened around her coffee cup. "She seemed very attached to you." "Business partners often are," Maxwell replied. "Much like you and Trenton have become close through charity work." Her eyes flickered with momentary panic before she composed herself. "Trenton's been a good friend to both of us." "Indeed. So good he's willing to help review confidential documents. I sent him some Dubai information yesterday." Maxwell watched her carefully. "Strange. He mentioned you'd already discussed some of those details with him." I might have mentioned the project in passing." Maxwell smiled thinly. "Of course. Well, I should get to the office. I have a board meeting to prepare for." At Barrett Global Headquarters, Maxwell convened his most trusted team: Perry, Natalia, and his CFO, Vincent Torres. Olivia and Trenton took the bait, Maxwell announced. They accessed the fake offshore account information. More importantly, Trenton sent it to Archer Capital this morning. "Perfect," Natalia said. "That's actionable corporate espionage. But we don't move on that yet," Maxwell clarified. "First, we hit their personal weak spots." He turned to Vincent. "What's the status on Trenton's financials?" "He's overextended on 3 properties and has significant margin calls coming due. He's been keeping up appearances, but he's one bad month from insolvency." "And the Montgomerys?" "Preston's hedge fund is underperforming badly. They've been selling assets quietly to maintain their lifestyle." Maxwell nodded. "Here's what happens next. Vincent, call in Trenton's personal loans from Barrett-affiliated banks. All of them, simultaneously. That's $3 million in loans," Vincent noted. "He won't be able to cover them." "Exactly. Perry, leak rumors about Preston Montgomery's fund to your contacts at the Wall Street Journal. Nothing specific, just enough to make investors nervous." "And Olivia?" Natalia asked. Maxwell's expression hardened. "For now, nothing obvious. But freeze her supplemental credit cards. Limit cash withdrawals to $500 daily. Tell the house staff they need approval for any expenses over $1,000. Financial squeeze," Perry nodded approvingly. "They'll feel the pressure, but won't immediately connect it to you." Meanwhile, Maxwell continued. "I need all communications between Trenton and Archer Capital documented. And I want weekly updates on my wife's movements." That evening, Maxwell brought home an unexpected guest for dinner, Layla Nazari. "I hope you don't mind," he told a visibly displeased Olivia. "Layla had no dinner plans, and we have business to discuss." Throughout dinner, Maxwell and Layla discussed the Dubai project in detailed terms that clearly excluded Olivia from the conversation. Layla touched Maxwell's arm frequently, laughing at his jokes and offering insights that impressed even Olivia. "Your husband is remarkable," Layla told Olivia. "Such vision, such intensity." Olivia forced a smile. "Yes, Maxwell has always been driven." "More than driven," Layla corrected. "He's transformative." The Dubai partners were skeptical until they met him in person. Now they won't work with anyone else. After Layla left, Olivia confronted Maxwell in their bedroom. "Was that necessary? Parading your new business partner in our home?" Maxwell feigned surprise. I thought you'd appreciate meeting the woman who's helping secure our financial future. He paused. Unless you found the Dubai project uninteresting lately? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing at all. He kissed her forehead. I have an early meeting. Don't wait up. The next morning, Trenton Holbrook received simultaneous calls from 3 different banks, all demanding immediate repayment of his loans. His financial advisor informed him that his credit lines had been frozen and his request for loan extensions denied. By noon, Preston Montgomery was fielding panic calls from investors wanting to withdraw from his fund after rumors of mismanagement surfaced in financial circles. And Olivia Barrett discovered her shopping spree at Bergdorf's cut short when her cards were declined. The customer service representative informed her that her spending limit had been adjusted at the primary cardholder's request. The squeeze had begun. Chapter 5, Pressure Points. 2 weeks after the engagement party, Trenton Holbrook paced nervously in Maxwell's office, visibly agitated. I don't understand why you won't guarantee the loan, Trenton said. We've been friends for years. It's a temporary cash flow issue. Maxwell leaned back in his chair, expression sympathetic but firm. The banks made their decision based on your financials, Trenton. I can't interfere with their risk assessments. But you have influence, which I use judiciously, Maxwell interrupted. Look, I can offer you a consulting position on the Dubai project. It won't solve all your problems, but it's something. Hope flickered across Trenton's face. That would be very helpful. Of course, you'd need to sign our standard non-disclosure and non-compete agreements. Archer Capital has been circling the project. We need to ensure our team's loyalty. Trenton paled slightly. Non-compete, standard procedure, Maxwell said smoothly. Natalia will send over the paperwork this afternoon. 6 months guaranteed work at $20,000 per month. It was a lifeline Trenton couldn't refuse, despite knowing it would prevent him from working with Archer Capital, where he'd been promised a partnership position in exchange for information on Barrett Global's Dubai project. Meanwhile, Olivia was having lunch with her mother at an exclusive Manhattan restaurant. I don't understand what's happening, Vivian complained. Your father's investors are withdrawing millions. The club is threatening to revoke our membership over delayed dues. We're having our own issues, Olivia admitted. Maxwell has suddenly become controlling with money. That's not like him. He's always been so eager to prove he belongs in our circles. Olivia lowered her voice. I think he suspects something. Vivian's eyes widened. About Trenton? Impossible. You've been careful. The helicopter at Alexandra's engagement party. The way he introduced that woman, Layla, it felt like a message. Don't be paranoid, darling. Men like Maxwell don't notice such things. They're too busy making money. Maybe, Olivia said uncertainly. But Trenton's having financial problems too. Suddenly and simultaneously. Coincidence, Vivian dismissed. Though perhaps you should be more attentive to Maxwell for a while. At least until your father's situation improves. That evening, Maxwell invited Olivia to dinner at their favorite restaurant. She dressed carefully, selecting a red dress he had once admired. Throughout dinner, Maxwell was charming, attentive, almost like during their courtship. He asked about her day, complimented her appearance, reminisced about their early years together. What's the occasion? Olivia asked, genuinely confused by his warm demeanor. Can a man enjoy dinner with his beautiful wife? He reached across the table, taking her hand. I've been preoccupied with work. I've neglected you. Guilt flashed across Olivia's face. I understand how important the Dubai project is. Not more important than us, Maxwell said, his eyes intense. I was thinking we should get away together. After the Dubai contracts are signed next month. Maybe that villa in Santorini you loved. I'd like that, she said, squeezing his hand. As they drove home, Olivia's phone buzzed with a message. She angled it away from Maxwell, but not before he glimpsed Trenton's name on the screen. Problem? Maxwell asked casually. No, she said quickly. Just Alexandra with more wedding questions. The lie hung between them in the car's darkness. Back at Barrett Global, Perry updated Maxwell on their surveillance. Trenton's desperate, Perry reported. He's tried to contact Archer Capital 3 times, but they're ghosting him now that he's signed her non-compete. And the information he already passed to them. Useless. The fake offshore accounts were convincing enough that archers spent considerable resources investigating them. When they discover they've been chasing shadows, they won't be happy. Maxwell nodded. What about Olivia? Still seeing Trenton, but they're getting sloppy. Meeting more frequently, taking fewer precautions. They're panicking. Perfect. Time for the next phase. Maxwell handed Perry a USB drive. Have this accidentally discovered in my home office. Make sure Olivia finds it. The drive contains selective information about the real Dubai project. Enormously profitable, but structured in a way that would exclude both the Montgomerys and Trenton from any benefits. It also included personal files suggesting Maxwell was planning to divorce Olivia after the Dubai deal closed. And Layla Nazari? Perry asked. Schedule another dinner at my home. Make sure Olivia knows she'll be there. And have our accountants prepare for full financial isolation protocols. You're cutting them all off. Maxwell's smile was cold. I'm teaching them the cost of betrayal. Chapter 6. The Confrontation. The Barrett penthouse dining room was set for an intimate dinner for 4. Maxwell had invited Layla Nazari and, surprisingly, Trenton Holbrook. A celebration, Maxwell had explained to a confused Olivia. The Dubai contracts are nearly finalized. Trenton's consulting has been valuable. Olivia had spent the day in a state of anxiety. After discovering the USB drive in Maxwell's office, left conspicuously in an unlocked drawer, she'd viewed its contents with growing horror. Not only was Maxwell planning to divorce her after the Dubai deal, but he'd structured their prenuptial agreement to trigger clauses that would leave her with almost nothing if she contested it. She'd immediately called Trenton, who was equally distressed about the financial arrangements that would shut him out of the Dubai profits despite his consulting work. Now they sat across from each other at Maxwell's table, maintaining a facade of professional friendliness while exchanging worried glances. Maxwell raised his glass. To successful partnerships, business and otherwise. They drank, the expensive wine tasting like ash in Olivia's mouth. Layla has been instrumental in securing the final investors, Maxwell continued. The signing ceremony is scheduled for next Tuesday in Dubai. Will you attend, Olivia? Layla asked sweetly. Before she could answer, Maxwell interjected. Unfortunately, Olivia has prior commitments. Her cousin's wedding preparations are consuming her schedule. Olivia frowned. I could reschedule. No need, Maxwell said firmly. This is primarily business. Besides, I'll only be gone 3 days. Trenton cleared his throat. The investment structure you outlined is fascinating, Maxwell. Very innovative. Isn't it? Complete compartmentalization of assets. Each investor protected from the other's potential liabilities. What Maxwell didn't say, what was clear in the USB files, was that this structure also prevented any unauthorized parties from accessing funds or information. After dinner, Layla suggested they move to the living room for cognac. As Maxwell poured drinks, his phone buzzed. He checked it, frowning. Excuse me. Emergency call from Dubai. As soon as Maxwell left the room, Trenton moved closer to Olivia on the sofa. Did you see the divorce papers? He whispered urgently. Yes, she hissed back. He's planning to file as soon as the Dubai deal closes. We need to move faster. My financial situation is dire, and your father's getting worse. If Maxwell cuts us off completely, what are we supposed to do? He's watching everything. Layla, seemingly engrossed in her phone across the room, appeared not to notice their conversation. The signing ceremony in Dubai, Trenton said quietly. If we could somehow access his authentication codes before then. How? He's barely letting me access household accounts, let alone business information. There must be something in his home office. Papers is safe. Their whispered conspiracy halted abruptly as Maxwell returned. Good news, he announced. The final investor is confirmed. We're officially at full subscription for the Dubai project. He raised his glass again, studying Olivia and Trenton over the rim as they forced congratulatory smiles. Later that night, after Trenton and Layla had departed, Maxwell found Olivia in their bedroom, pretending to read. You and Trenton seemed deep in conversation during my call, he remarked casually. Just catching up, she replied. He mentioned having some financial troubles. Yes, unfortunate timing with the banks calling his loans. Bad investments, apparently. Olivia set down her book. Maxwell, is everything all right between us? He sat beside her on the bed, taking her hand. Why do you ask? You've been different lately. The sudden attention, then the distance. The changes to our accounts. Maxwell studied her face, the face he'd once loved beyond reason. I've been preoccupied with Dubai, the biggest deal of my career. Just Dubai. What else would it be? His thumb stroked the inside of her wrist where her pulse raced. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you're testing me. Maxwell leaned in, kissing her softly. Get some sleep. Everything will be clearer soon. As Olivia drifted off, Maxwell sat in the darkness, reviewing the footage from the hidden cameras. Trenton and Olivia's whispered conversation played on his tablet, their desperate plotting now fully documented. He sent a text to Perry, execute financial containment. Full isolation protocol. The next morning, Olivia discovered her personal checking account had been drained, with funds transferred to the joint household account. Her secondary credit cards were canceled. Her investment portfolio, gifted by Maxwell on their 10th anniversary, showed a pending transfer to Barrett Family Trust. When she called the family attorney in panic, he informed her that recent changes to the trust required dual authorization for any withdrawals. Maxwell's signature and the signature of his appointed trustee, Natalia Rivera. Simultaneously, Trenton Holbrook received notice that his consulting position with Barrett Global was terminated, effective immediately, for violation of confidentiality agreements. His final payment was withheld pending legal review. Preston Montgomery's hedge fund received formal notice from 4 major banks that they were calling in their loans due to material adverse changes in the fund's performance. The noose was tightening. That evening, Maxwell didn't come home. Olivia's calls went straight to voicemail. At 10 p.m., she received a text. Working late. Don't wait up. Preparations for Dubai signing ceremony taking longer than expected. In desperation, she called Trenton. He knows, she said as soon as he answered. Maxwell knows everything. Calm down, Trenton urged, though his own voice shook. He can't prove anything. My accounts are frozen. Daddy's fund is collapsing. Your job is gone. What more proof does he need? We need to be smart about this. If he files for divorce based on infidelity, you get nothing. We need leverage. What leverage? He's thought of everything. Not everything, Trenton insisted. He still needs to close the Dubai deal. That's his vulnerability. How does that help us? His authentication codes. The signing authority. If we could access those before the ceremony. You want me to steal from my husband? Olivia asked, incredulous. I want us to secure our future, Trenton countered. One transaction, routing a percentage of the funds to an account he can't trace. Enough to ensure we're taken care of no matter what he does next. After a long silence, Olivia whispered, his safe. In the home office. He thinks I don't know the combination, but I saw him open it once. Can you check it tonight? I'll try. After the household staff leaves. What Olivia couldn't know, was that Maxwell was sitting in the security room of their building, listening to every word through the penthouse's surveillance system. Beside him, Perry Donovan smiled grimly. She took the bait, Perry said. Maxwell nodded. And now we have conspiracy to commit fraud on record. To go with the corporate espionage, attempted theft, and infidelity. Your divorce will be very one-sided. This isn't about divorce, Maxwell said quietly. It's about justice. At precisely 11:17 p.m., security cameras recorded Olivia Barrett entering her husband's home office. She approached the wall safe hidden behind a painting, carefully entering the combination. The safe opened. Inside, she found exactly what Maxwell had wanted her to find, a folder labeled Dubai, final authorization codes, and a handwritten note about the signing ceremony schedule. What she didn't find was the small camera recording her actions from inside the safe or the GPS tracker activated when she removed the folder. As Olivia photographed the documents with her phone, Maxwell watched from the security room, his expression impassive. Call Natalia, he instructed Perry. Tell her we have everything we need. Chapter 7. The Trap Springs. The morning of the Dubai signing ceremony arrived with a sense of inevitability. Maxwell Barrett's private jet was scheduled to depart at noon. Before leaving for the airport, he made one final stop at Barrett Global Headquarters. Natalia Rivera waited in his office with the final legal documents. Everything is prepared, she confirmed. The moment they attempt to access the authorization codes, we'll have them. And the real Dubai contracts. Secure. The actual signing is happening here in New York tomorrow, not in Dubai. The partners have been briefed about the security concerns. Maxwell nodded. Olivia and Trenton. Our surveillance team reports they met an hour ago at his apartment. She brought the documents from your safe. Good. Make sure Preston and Vivian Montgomery are included in today's actions. They've enabled this from the beginning. Maxwell's phone buzzed with a message from Perry. Oh, just left T's apartment. Heading to Archer Capital offices. Right on schedule, Maxwell murmured. At Archer Capital's Manhattan headquarters, Trenton Holbrook and Olivia Barrett were escorted to a conference room where Douglas Archer himself waited. This is highly irregular, Archer said, studying the documents Olivia had spread on the table. These authorization codes belong to Barrett Global. My husband has been planning to cut me out of everything, Olivia explained desperately. This is my only protection, and you're willing to redirect 20% of the Dubai funds to anonymous accounts. Archer asked, eyebrow raised. It's insurance, Trenton insisted. Once the transaction is confirmed, you'll have legitimate access to the investment structure. Your company benefits, we get protection, everyone wins. Except Maxwell Barrett, Archer noted dryly. He'll still make billions, Olivia said dismissively. He just won't be able to use the deal to destroy us. Archer studied them both. And what makes you think these codes are genuine? That this isn't some elaborate trap. I took them from his personal safe, Olivia said. Maxwell trusts me completely. Trenton nodded emphatically. The signing ceremony is happening in Dubai today. This is our only chance. Archer seemed to consider this before nodding to his assistant. Verify these codes through our banking contacts. If they check out, we proceed. What none of them realized was that Douglas Archer had received a visit from Natalia Rivera the previous day. The codes would indeed verify, and when used, would trigger a comprehensive digital trail directly to Archer Capital Systems. Meanwhile, Maxwell's jet took off from Teterboro Airport, but he wasn't on it. The plane carried Layla Nazari and several Barrett Global executives to maintain the appearance of the Dubai trip. Maxwell himself was in a secure office across town, watching as the trap unfolded. At 3:17 p.m., Archer Capital System attempted to access the Barrett Global Authentication portal using the stolen codes. Immediately, automated security protocols activated, documenting the intrusion attempt while appearing to grant access. Archer, Trenton, and Olivia watched as the system displayed what seemed to be the Dubai project's transaction dashboard. Archer's team initiated the fund diversion, transferring 20% to offshore accounts controlled by Trenton and Olivia. Confirmation received. Archer's tech specialist announced. Funds transferred. Olivia exhaled in relief. Now we're protected, no matter what Maxwell does next. I wouldn't be so sure about that, said a new voice from the doorway. All heads turned to see Maxwell Barrett standing there, flanked by Natalia Rivera and 2 FBI agents. Gentlemen, Maxwell addressed the agents. As discussed, you've just witnessed attempted corporate espionage and wire fraud. Olivia's face drained of color. Maxwell, this isn't what it looks like, he finished coldly. It's exactly what it looks like. My wife and her lover stealing corporate authorization codes and attempting to divert millions from a legitimate business transaction. You set us up. Trenton realized, his voice hollow. I gave you enough rope to hang yourselves, Maxwell corrected. The Dubai signing ceremony is tomorrow, in New York. Those codes you stole? Honeypot. The transactions you just authorized? Documented evidence of fraud. Douglas Archer stood abruptly. Barrett, I was working with authorities to catch these two. They approached me with this scheme. Save it, Douglas. Maxwell cut him off. Your meeting with Trenton last month is already part of the evidence package. You're as implicated as they are. As the FBI agents began reading rights and applying handcuffs, Maxwell approached Olivia, who stood frozen in shock. Why? She whispered. You could have just divorced me. Maxwell leaned close, his voice for her ears alone. Because you didn't just betray our marriage. You betray my trust. You conspired against everything I've built. And for that, there is no forgiveness. He straightened his tie and nodded to the FBI agents. She's all yours, gentlemen. As they led Olivia, Trenton, and Archer away, Natalia approached Maxwell. The Montgomerys? She asked. The SEC is paying them a visit as we speak. Preston's creative accounting is about to become very public. Complete destruction, Natalia observed. Was it worth it? Maxwell watched the elevator doors close on his wife's tear-streaked face. Every penny. Chapter 8, The Aftermath. 3 months after the arrests, Maxwell sat in his attorney's office, reviewing the final settlement terms. The criminal cases against Olivia, Trenton, and Douglas Archer were proceeding, with all three facing significant prison time for fraud, corporate espionage, and conspiracy. Olivia's attorneys are requesting another meeting, Natalia informed him. They're floating a new settlement offer. No meetings, no settlements. Maxwell's voice was flat. She made her choices. The prosecution has offered her a reduced sentence in exchange for testimony against Trenton and Archer. Let her take it or leave it. I don't care which. Natalia studied him. The divorce is finalized. The Dubai deal closed successfully. Barrett Global's stock has never been higher. You've won, Maxwell. This was never about winning, he corrected. It was about consequences. The consequences had indeed been severe. Preston Montgomery's hedge fund had collapsed under SEC investigation, with Preston himself facing criminal charges for investor fraud. Vivian had been forced to sell their estates and artwork to cover legal fees. The once proud Montgomery family was now a cautionary tale in financial circles. Trenton Holbrook had lost everything: his reputation, his freedom, his assets. Currently awaiting trial, he'd been denied bail as a flight risk. His desperate attempts to shift blame to Olivia had only strengthened the prosecution's case against both of them. And Olivia, the woman Maxwell had once built his life around, now sat in a federal holding facility, her designer clothes exchanged for prison scrubs, her society friends vanished, her future destroyed. The press wants interviews, Natalia continued. Forbes, Wall Street Journal, CNBC. The Barrett betrayal story is still hot. No interviews, Maxwell said firmly. The facts speak for themselves. That evening, Maxwell returned to his penthouse, now redesigned to erase all traces of Olivia. No photographs remained. No shared mementos. It was as if their 12 years together had never happened. Perry joined him for a drink on the terrace overlooking Central Park. Archer Capital is finished, Perry reported. Their major clients are jumping ship. Their reputation is toxic. Maxwell nodded, swirling his scotch. And Layla returned to Dubai. Her role as your supposed love interest is no longer needed. Make sure she receives the agreed-upon bonus. She played her part perfectly. They sat in comfortable silence until Perry asked, "Was it enough?" After everything they did, Maxwell considered the question, watching the city lights shimmer below. Justice is never about enough. It's about balance. They conspired to take everything from me. Now they have nothing. And the Montgomerys' social circle? The ones who laughed at your expense at the engagement party. A cold smile touched Maxwell's lips. I've acquired controlling interest in their club. The membership committee is being restructured. Amazing how quickly loyalty shifts when fortunes change. What's next for you? Perry asked. After all this? Expansion. Barrett Global moves into European markets next quarter. I've acquired 3 competitors who were weakened by the Archer Capital collapse. And personally, Maxwell set down his glass. Personally, I learned a valuable lesson. Trust must be earned, and betrayal must be answered. Without exception. Weeks later, Maxwell attended a charity gala alone. As he mingled with New York's elite, he overheard whispered conversations about Olivia's downfall. The same society figures who had once embraced her now disavowed any close connection. Maxwell, darling, trilled Bethany Winters, a longtime friend of Olivia's who had undoubtedly known about the affair. We've missed you at our gatherings. You must join us for dinner soon. Must I? Maxwell replied coolly. Bethany faltered at his tone. Well, I just thought. That now that my wife's disgrace is complete, you could re-establish social connections? How thoughtful. His smile never reached his eyes. Unfortunately, my memory for loyalty is rather long. Good evening, Bethany. He walked away, leaving her sputtering. Later that evening, Alexandra Montgomery, now Alexandra Winthrop following her wedding, approached him cautiously. Maxwell, I want you to know that I never approved of what Olivia did, or my uncle's behavior toward you. Maxwell studied his former cousin-in-law, yet you said nothing when they mocked me at your engagement party. Alexandra flushed. I was a coward. I didn't want to upset my parents. And now that your parents are social pariahs facing financial ruin, now I'm trying to do what's right, regardless of family loyalty. Maxwell considered this an admirable sentiment, one your cousin might have benefited from. Is there any chance you might forgive her eventually, after she's served her time? Maxwell's expression hardened. There are some betrayals that time doesn't heal, Alexandra. Some choices that permanently alter the relationship between cause and effect. He straightened his cufflink. Olivia chose her path. Now she walks it alone. Chapter 9. 5 years later. Maxwell Barrett stood at the window of his London office, watching rain streak down the glass. At 47, he was now one of the most powerful financial figures in the world. Barrett Global had tripled in size, with offices in 12 countries. The Dubai development had been just the beginning. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. Natalia Rivera entered, elegant as ever in a tailored suit. She'd become his chief legal officer after the Olivia affair, her ruthless efficiency proving invaluable during Barrett Global's expansion. The Archer Capital assets have been fully liquidated, she reported. Douglas Archer was denied parole again. Good, Maxwell said simply. There's something else. Olivia is being released next month. Early parole for good behavior. Maxwell showed no reaction. Irrelevant. Her attorney contacted us. She's requesting a meeting. Denied. Natalia hesitated. She claims to have information about other conspirators who weren't caught in our initial investigation. After 5 years, Maxwell raised an eyebrow. Desperation makes for convenient memory enhancement. Still, protocol suggests. The protocol for betrayal is clear, Natalia. No contact. No exceptions. She nodded, having expected this response. On a different matter, Preston Montgomery died last night. Heart attack in the minimum security facility where he was serving his sentence. Maxwell absorbed this news impassively. Send an appropriately modest arrangement to the funeral. Nothing personal. Of course. After Natalia left, Maxwell returned to the window. Across the street, construction continued on the new Barrett Tower, soon to be the tallest building in London's financial district. His phone buzzed with a message from Perry, released from hospital, still requesting meeting. Trenton Holbrook had attempted suicide 6 months into his sentence. He'd survived, but spent the intervening years between prison and psychiatric hospitals. Like Olivia, he'd been reaching out through intermediaries, begging for a chance to explain, to apologize. Maxwell deleted the message without responding. That evening, he attended a private dinner at the home of the British Chancellor of the Exchequer. As the most eligible bachelor in financial circles, he never lacked for social invitations or interested companions. He'd had several relationships since Olivia, but none had progressed beyond a certain point. Trust, once shattered, proved difficult to rebuild. At the dinner, he found himself seated beside Lady Josephine Blackwell, a brilliant economist with connections throughout European banking. The notorious Maxwell Barrett, she said with a smile. Your reputation precedes you. Good or bad? He asked, amused. Fascinating, she replied. They say you're brilliant, ruthless, and impossible to truly know. An accurate assessment. They also say you destroyed your ex-wife and her lover so thoroughly that even mentioning their names in your presence is forbidden. Maxwell's expression cooled. Do they now? I find it interesting, Josephine continued, undeterred, that a man of your accomplishments remains defined by an act of revenge, however justified. I'm defined by my actions, Maxwell corrected. All of them, including ensuring that betrayal has consequences. And forgiveness? Does that have a place in your worldview? Maxwell considered her question, swirling the wine in his glass. Forgiveness is a luxury for those who've never been truly betrayed. Josephine studied him. A rather bleak perspective for a man who has everything. Not everything, Maxwell replied. Just everything that matters. Later that week, Maxwell visited New York for a board meeting. Against his better judgment, he drove past the former Montgomery estate, now converted to luxury condominiums after the family's financial collapse. Vivian Montgomery had moved to a small apartment in Queens, her social standing destroyed, her friends vanished, her remaining years spent in obscurity and shame. The mighty had indeed fallen. Maxwell felt no satisfaction at the sight, only a cold certainty that justice had been served. His driver took him past the federal correctional facility where Olivia would soon complete her sentence. 5 years of her life gone, her beauty faded, her future prospects non-existent. The fairy tale princess had discovered that actions have consequences. Keep driving, Maxwell instructed as the prison came into view. No need to linger on the past. That evening, as he prepared for his return flight to London, Maxwell received an unexpected visitor at his Manhattan penthouse. Alexandra, he said with surprise when his security announced her arrival. Show her in. Alexandra Winthrop entered, elegant in simple business attire, a far cry from the pampered socialite she'd once been. After her parents' disgrace, she'd carved out her own path, starting a moderately successful interior design business. Thank you for seeing me, she said. I know it's unexpected. What can I do for you? Maxwell asked, gesturing for her to sit. I just came from visiting Olivia. She's being released next week. Maxwell's expression hardened. If you're here to plead her case. I'm not, Alexandra interrupted. Quite the opposite, actually. This caught his attention. Explain. Olivia asked me to deliver a message. She said to tell you she's changed. That prison has given her time to reflect. That she deserves a second chance. And you disagree? Alexandra met his gaze directly. Some betrayals can't be undone, Maxwell. Some choices define us permanently. Olivia made hers. A hint of surprise showed in Maxwell's eyes. An unexpected perspective from family. 5 years ago, I watched you systematically dismantle my family's legacy in response to their betrayal. It was terrifying, brutal, and completely justified. She took a deep breath. I learned from it. About consequences. About integrity. And now you're warning me against showing mercy? I'm suggesting that your instincts have served you well. Olivia hasn't changed. Her concern is still only for herself. Maxwell nodded slowly. Thank you for your candor. As Alexandra rose to leave, she added, There's something else you should know. Trenton has been contacting her. They're planning to reunite after her release. Some people never learn, Maxwell observed. Apparently not. After she left, Maxwell stood at his window, looking out at the city that had witnessed his greatest triumphs and most painful betrayal. His phone buzzed with a message from an unlisted number. It's Olivia. I'm being released next week. Please give me a chance to explain, to apologize. People change. Everyone deserves forgiveness. Maxwell stared at the message for a long moment before composing his response. No, they don't. He blocked the number and turned back to the view, his reflection in the glass showing a man who had learned the hardest lesson of all. Some betrayals change you forever, and some debts can never be repaid. In the unforgiving world of Maxwell Barrett, second chances were a myth. Trust, once broken, remained shattered. Loyalty, once betrayed, was never restored. It wasn't revenge that drove him now. It was principle, a code as unyielding as the man himself. The past was written, the consequences delayed.